Hi, and welcome to a Catalytic Conversation. Hi, I'm Andy Simon, and I'm a vice chair of one of the advisory council committees on the Women's Business Collaborative, and a host on May 13th at our Catalyzing the Future, Rethinking Women's Leadership in Business. I have with me today someone who I want you to know more about, Jose Zeilstra. And Jose is going to be one of the chairs of one of our panels, Collaborating for Success, how the public and private sector can work together to ensure women can succeed or rise to leaders in the labor force. On that panel with her is going to be Lynn Bourne, Donald Fan, who's Walmart's senior diversity person, and Lorraine Harrington, the CEO of Catalyst. But for today, I'd really like you to know a little bit more about Jose. She's an established business strategist and accomplished leader for both startups and global corporations. For over 20 years, she worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers, JP Morgan Chase, and had a dozen client corporations. She currently runs Gender Fair. And if you haven't looked at Gender Fair, you really must. It's a platform that uses data analytics to determine an organization's progress toward gender equality and diversity. This is really important for today because it isn't enough for corporations to say we have to be more diverse, equitable, and inclusive. Are you? And how do we know it? And how do we measure it? And how do we help consumers buy from those who do? Prior to that, Jose co-founded GiveBack, an innovative platform that makes it easy for companies to build authentic and impactful cause marketing. And it was launched on Oprah Winfrey Show during her final season in 2011 and was subsequently acquired by one of the nation's largest benefits administrators. What all this comes to is today's conversation is about how do we change what people are doing in the companies that we're in for others outside the companies, all of our consumers. And Jose is smiling at me. Jose, thank you for being here with me.
Thank you so much, Andy, for having me.
Tell our listeners about the panel, a little bit more about yourself if you'd like. But that panel has some really wonderful people who are all going to have conversations about what we're doing to change where we are and where we're going, and to actually make progress and Gender Fair happen. About yourself and the program.
Well, you did a great summary of my background, so appreciate that. I don't have too much to add, but I did spend 14, 15 years in corporate America and progressively, going up the ladder and really seeing the the change kind of mid-career in terms of the women and peers in the companies. And then I look up and there's very little progress that was being made in getting women in the top leadership ranks, despite a lot of efforts. So I did see a lot of training and mentoring going on for women, but there was always this this limitation when it came to kind of mid-senior levels of women who actually broke through that rank. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for companies to do better and different creative ways to get more diversity in senior leadership roles. So that's where I spend a lot of my career. I'm excited about Gender Fair because it's one of the levers that we can pull to get the consumers to really drive for gender equality and reducing this this large gap that we have over 200 years for us to reach gender equality. And I think consumers, investors, employees, we all have a role, but women are still the primary consumers in buying for products, anything from beer to cars to which bank to open account with. So there's so much, power that women have. And if we just use it in the right way collectively, I really think that that puts enough pressure on companies to go faster.
Well, I was EVP of a bank, and I remember that ceiling was really scratching my head. I used to go to board meetings. There were 49 men and me. We didn't say a whole lot, but we learned a lot about how to begin a process of trying to diversify the senior management and fill the talent pool with those who could. And now this whole Gender Fair piece fits very beautifully into helping others understand what's actually going on inside a company. You want to tell us a little bit, what does the data look like and who's really moving the needle on this?
So just on gender fair, so our metrics are based on the UN Women's Empowerment Principles. And why that's important is that so many companies signed up for these, what we call WEPs. But there was no accountability, no tracking, no way to see if a company is progressing on these WEPs. So we created about 6 years ago the actual metrics around that. And it really focuses on leadership, both at the board level and right across senior management and down. And then it looks at employee policies, and that's becoming much more important now, especially during the pandemic, is employee well-being, also paid family leave. We look at, has a company done a pay equity analysis? What is their sexual harassment policies like? We also look at advertising and imagery. Is it inclusive? We look at diversity reporting, and this is something I'm really excited about to talk on the panel. Is there some disclosure when it comes to employee diversity and the workplace, and do they have diversity right across the organization, and intersectionality of race and gender, and supplier diversity, and right down to the supply chain. And lastly, we look at philanthropy. Do companies invest in the next generation of women and girls, whether it's STEM education or women business suppliers and things like that. So we took this measurement, and then we assess companies, because companies have to report this to the SEC, but they also disclose some of this in their CSR reports and their websites, and really start rating companies. So we have all publicly traded companies, data on them, and we score them. And then we want to provide that to the public, so they know, when they buy a product, is this brand gender fair or not?
Well, and Donald Fan will be with us on our panel, and Walmart has certainly distinguished itself. Are there other cases like that that at least the listeners can begin to understand? Because what you've become is an accountability finder for people to know who's doing it and how well are they doing it. And inside the companies, there's something they can look at that says we need to do better, or oh boy, we're really leading the pack. Are there others that, like Walmart, are really taking off here?
Yes, and you mentioned Walmart, because when we started our research, Walmart was very much behind as a retailer, but also, across other industries. They really lack diversity in the senior leadership. But I think the key catalyst for change in the last few years is the CEO, and making it part of his legacy. Doug McMillon is also going to get an award later this year, but he's really taken this on personally. And I think that's the difference. And they've, in the last 5 years, have really progressed, and they publicize their workforce composition, and others. And others include IBM. Citigroup, for example, was the first financial institution that disclosed their pay gap, and they've, and the inequities when it comes to paying people and how they're addressing that. GE is also one of those companies that has done so, and General Motors on the pay. So there's a lot of companies that are stepping up. PricewaterhouseCoopers also disclosed their workforce composition, and they're very clear in terms of where they are behind. So a lot of these companies have done well when it comes to gender, but not so much when it comes to race and ethnicity. So I think that's something that most companies are still struggling with, but at least the data's out there and they're addressing it.
I'm very excited as I'm listening to you, because I'm an ex-Citi banker, and with Jane Fraser in there, that was a statement. Now, there are lots of ways of reading that statement, but I was just excited to see her get there. And all of a sudden, there's a nice momentum going on the C-suite. Catalyst will be on our panel as well. One of the things that we'd like to come out of that panel with are some call to actions, things that people can do. Anything that you're seeing as you're looking at these companies that we can share today, and then we'll be able to share in our panel as well?
Well, one of the things I like to see is companies stepping up. And there's less than 10% that are actually stepping up in terms of disclosure. But I think, and I think the rest are oftentimes afraid to be that public around their workforce composition. So what I'm hoping is for Walmart to be a case study, saying, you know what, we're doing this, and we may not look great, but this is, we're being authentic and transparent. And I'm hoping that takes some of the fear out of other companies who want to do this, even if the numbers don't look good, because I think this is a moment in time for both employees and consumers and investors to say, you know what, we trust business, and even if business is not doing well, but they're trying, I think there's still going to be that kind of support behind it. And there's, to continue to build that trust, especially with employees, who want that kind of transparency.
Yep. It's interesting. I'm a corporate anthropologist, and I specialize in helping companies change. Culture change is one of the areas that is both something we talk about and very difficult to do, but that's what we're going through now, a major cultural transformation. And it's not a little of this or a little of that. It's a whole way of seeing women of color, all kinds of ethnic minorities, and begin to see the richness that cognitive diversity, gender diversity, racial diversity brings into an organization, and then how to make that change stick, so that it's easy to slide back. There's no need to. There's so much talent out there and so much great opportunity. Jose, this is going to be such a great panel, and I'm looking forward to it. Any last thoughts for us to encourage people to please come and stay around and listen in, and then leave with great things that they can do?
No, I'm very excited about this panel as well. I think having a company like Walmart talk about their journey is really interesting to me. And then Catalyst, who's obviously been involved with, many CEOs of large corporations over so many years, and seeing how their new KPIs are addressing, some of the needs right now for, for where we need to close the gaps. So both those are going to be really great perspectives. And
Lynn Bourne, who I know quite well, is coming with her own perspective from the financial services industry. So it's going to be a really great time for us to share great ideas. And so I urge our listeners to register at Catalyst, catalyzingthefuture.com. And you'll see there all the greats. Joey Ryman is going to be leading us off with purpose and purposeful business. It's a day for us to celebrate how far we've come, but how far we have to go, and how together we can go further, faster together. And I do think that's our motto. So I'm going to say goodbye and thank you all for coming to listen to our Catalytic conversation. Bye-bye now.